Hello there folks, and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now, I'm filming this video a bit late really because it's time for a year on the wrist review of my Rolex Explorer. And actually the anniversary had slipped by and I hadn't noticed it because I purchased this watch in November of 2021. So we're well beyond the first anniversary, but I thought it was time to give you my considered lived review of this watch, having worn it for well over a year now, and to give you my views, thoughts and observations on what it's been like to live with the 36mm Rolex Explorer. Okay, now first of all, this might take a while. There's a lot to go through here, so I apologise for that. I hope you've got a cup of tea and you're settled back and you're going to enjoy this, because I'm going to take you on the full journey. First of all, I'm going to tell you why I picked this watch. Now, I'm a simple man, alright, and I often find myself attracted to the simplest of things. And, you know, simple cars, simple clothes, and simple wristwatches has always been in that equation. When I look at my small watch collection, the watches which bring me the most enjoyment, and often the most versatile, are those which you may describe as being the simplest. Just like the Rolex Explorer. It is a time-only watch. It's a three-handed watch, hours, minutes and seconds. There's no dates, there's no GMTs, there's no chronographs. It simply tells you the time. It is the epitome of a functional utility watch. And in fact, other watches in my collection share that relationship with simplicity. One of my favourite watches is my Rolex Submariner. And I opted for the no-date Submariner for the specific reason that it's simple, symmetrical, time only, easy to read, no complications, and that's what I really like. So that's one of the things which drew me to the watch. One of the other things, well, I like its proportions. All right, one of my favourite watches in my collection is my Rolex Datejust, also a 36mm, and I rather like the classic styling of watches which are not huge, they're not giant, they slip under the cuff of one's sleeve very readily. And the trend in the modern era is towards larger, sporty style watches, 40mm and above. That doesn't really excite me that much. And when I saw the Explorer was re-released, if you want to call it that, in a 36mm case size, I was immediately very interested, because I tried on one of the previous 39mm Explorer cases back in the days when you could walk into an authorised dealer and they would actually have the Rolex Explorer for sale there and then. But I tried on a stainless steel one maybe in about 2019, and it just didn't chime with me. There was something about the fact there was a lot of extra dial going on there. You know, there was a lot of there was a void, a lot of black in the dial. I just didn't get it. It didn't work for my wrist proportion. So based on that, I handed that watch back and I didn't buy it. But in 2021, when Rolex announced the new, or the re-release of the 36mm, of course it was the original size that the Explorer came out in, I thought, that's for me. And from that moment on, I decided I wanted to reduce one of those Explorers into my collection. Alright then, so now you know why I bought it. How did I buy it? Well, I went to a number of my authorised dealers within just a few weeks of the watch being officially released in early 2021, and I put my name down at a large national chain. I put my name down at a single department store which just had an authorised dealers in it, and I put my name down at a small regional jewellery store chain which had 2 or 3 stores. So I covered several different bases, and it was the national store, the national chain, which came back to me first. It was Goldsmiths, and that brand, or Watches of Switzerland brand, they took, I think, 8 months from me expressing an interest to the watch becoming available. So let me show you what the piece looks like. Let me get it on my little camera here, and we will talk about what drew me to the piece. So here we are. Right, there it is. There is my little Explorer. 36mm, quite a simple watch really, not a lot to get excited about. A lot of reflection on the crystal, apologies for that, but of course it's a sapphire crystal. And what you can see in this watch is the classic dial. So what you get here are the numerals at 3, 6 and 9. You've got the inverted triangle indicating the 12 o'clock, and then you've got those baton hour markers for the other hours. Very, very simple. Just, you can see there, the Mercedes hand is the hour hand, and the hands and the hour markers are all picked out in white gold, so you know they're never going to tarnish, they're never going to, lose their luster. All of the hour markers, either the numerals, the battens or that triangle, are all filled with luminescence, so you get a good glow at night when you reach over to the nightstand and you want to see what time it is in the middle of the night. Now the watch itself is mostly brushed finish, but you do get some high polished edges on the flanks and around that bezel there, which it gives it a nice bit of light when the reflection catches it. It's the classic oyster bracelet, and it's got, of course, the sports professional range clasp, which means it's got the little, as you can see, the keeper with the Rolex crown on it. It's got the easy link adjustment, which gives you 5mm of adjustment. Pretty simple piece really. Screw down crown, which means, there we go, let's have a look at that, which means you get 100 meters of water resistance, which is ideal really for your day-to-day living, going on holidays, jumping in the water, in the pool, in the sea or whatever. A very classically elegant piece. Just for reference, my wrist is 6.5 inches, so you get an idea of just how big the watch is on an ordinary person's wrist. You can see there's quite a taper to the bracelet, so the taper there beginning where it integrates into the head of the watch and tapers down to the clasp. So it's got quite an elegant look to it, and yeah, an inky black dial, a couple of lines of text on there: Rolex Oyster Perpetual Explorer, superlative chronometer, officially certified. So quite a simple and plain watch, and there we go. So where I brought this watch from, the authorized dealers, I had previously bought one single watch in the past. That was a Rolex GMT Master 2 root beer. So I didn't have, and that was a few years ago, so I didn't have any sort of preferential status. That was just the normal delivery time of that watch, about 8 months. So the watch is in my ownership now. Did I enjoy it? So how did it feel when I first bought it? Well, I enjoyed the watch from the get-go. I'd always lusted after that very simple, natural look, something which would easily be wearable with all different types of clothing. And the first thing that struck me about the watch, because I bought it having never seen the new model, was it was much smaller than I anticipated. Even though it's officially stated as a 36mm piece, it feels a lot smaller. Well, not a lot smaller. It maybe feels about 35mm. And I'm sure it is. Actually, I'm told that when it's, and I haven't done this myself, but if you were to measure the dial of the watch, it actually measures closer to 35mm than 36. So it feels a bit smaller. It's actually a bit smaller. And compared to my 36mm Datejust, it definitely feels smaller. But that is a good thing. It feels rather nimble and very light on the wrist, so there's a lot of good things about it. So I like the watch, but unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, when it entered my collection, it entered at a bit of a strange time. Because about a month before I took delivery of the Explorer, of all things, you know what happens, don't you? When you're waiting for a bus, you wait for an hour and then two arrive at once. And exactly that scenario happened to me with my watch. Because a month before I got the call to come and collect the Explorer, I received a call from a different authorized dealer to go and collect a GMT Master 2 Pepsi, a watch which I've been waiting for, there or thereabouts, for about 3 years. And obviously, the Pepsi, the GMT Master 2 BLRO, is a very different watch to the Explorer. It's larger, it's 40 millimeters, and it's got a hell of a lot of charisma. You know, it's got the blue and the red bezel. It's a large watch. It's the model I have is on the Jubilee bracelet. So there's a lot of character going on in that piece. And, you know, when you put that on your wrist, it is entrancing. The Pepsi is a watch which draws you in with its sense of fun and its sense of charisma. And I'd been wearing that watch very happily. I was loving the Pepsi. And then a month later, out of the blue, I get a call to tell me that the Explorer's ready. Well, I have to say, I wasn't expecting that. And of course, it's a financial burden. You know, these watches are not cheap. So I had to really do a bit of soul searching. And I thought to myself, no, if I don't buy this Explorer now, I will never get my hands on it. Let's go and pick it up. So I took the Pepsi off, which was a challenge, and I put the Explorer on my wrist. And maybe the Explorer was following a very difficult act, in so much as the Pepsi was a hell of a watch. It's one of the, you know, the poster boys of the Rolex collection, and it is fair to say the Explorer is rather subdued in comparison. So I put it on my wrist, and it felt rather subdued. It felt a little bit small. I wore it solidly for 2 weeks, you know, the honeymoon phase, and then I thought to myself, I want to put that Pepsi back on. So I took the Explorer off, put it in the safe. Didn't wear it for quite some time. I felt guilty. So I got the old Explorer out and I gave it to the wife, my darling wife. My wife normally wears a 31mm Lady Datejust, stainless steel with diamonds. So that's her sort of day-to-day watch. And I said, look, darling, you know, this lovely 36mm Explorer would suit you down to the ground because it's of a size which can easily be worn by a man or a woman. It's one of its advantages. So I said to Lady Jones, give it a try. Wear it for a bit. So she wore it for about a month and she originally rather liked it. But after about a month, she was missing the bling, I think, of her Jubilee bracelet, you know, diamond bezel, Datejust. So she took the Explorer off, handed it back to me and said, stick it back in the safe. I'm going back to my normal watch. So I put the Explorer away, and I have to tell you, I did not wear it for quite a few months. And I felt rather guilty. The months were ticking by. We arrived in the summer of 2022. I'd owned the watch at this point for 6 or 7 months, maybe 8 months even, and I'd barely worn it. I'd barely worn it at all, maybe 3 weeks in total. And it was a ragingly hot summer in 2022 here in the UK, and I found a lot of my wristwatches were feeling a little bit tight because my blood pressure was up in the temperature, my wrist had swollen, and my Explorer has quite a loose fit. I like it like that. It's such a light watch, you can get away with it having a rather loose fit. So I decided, let's put away I think I was wearing a Submariner. Put the Submariner away, let's give the Explorer another run. Let's see if it comes into its own in the warmer summer months. And I've got to tell you, that is where the Explorer edged its way into my heart. It was light, it was very easy to wear, it wasn't, you know, problematic at all with being difficult or tight on the wrist. And it was at that point that I appreciated what a field watch is all about. It's meant to be a watch which is small, yet easy to read. It's a watch which isn't onerous to wear. It's not large, it's not bulky. You can wear it in any situation, whether you're outdoors, whether you're indoors, whether you're wearing a suit, whether you're just wearing swimming trunks. And I did all of those things with the Explorer in the summer months. And I didn't take it off for 3 solid months. And in fact, it's still my primary daily wearer to this day. And I regret actually that I left it off for quite some time. Now, the situation has flipped on its head. I can't actually remember the last time I wore my Rolex GMT Master 2, my Pepsi, but I wear the Explorer on a pretty much daily basis. So yes, it had a difficult entry into my collection, but now I absolutely appreciate what the Explorer, in its joyous simplicity, is really all about. So since then, my journey with the Explorer has been really, really enjoyable, but no watch is perfect. There are pros and cons, and I've got some written down just here. What are the pros? What are the good things about the Explorer? Well, it's very versatile. As you can see now, I've been out doing formal activities today, and the Explorer fits in perfectly with my more formal attire. However, tomorrow I might be up here doing sort of yard work, chopping trees down, cutting firewood. The Explorer is equally at home. It's got a very chameleon appearance, particularly the stainless steel version, which I have, the simple black dial with the white hour markers. It is a classically elegant watch. It's something, as I say, you can wear with a suit and just wear with a swimming costume. You know, that is one of the beauties of it. It's understated. It doesn't look fancy at all. It's a watch which doesn't scream, look at me, I'm an expensive watch. And for that reason, it does have advantageous qualities if you're going maybe daily into a big city to work and you're afraid that there may be muggers or robbers or cutthroats and highwaymen who are likely to cross your path on your journey every day. Wearing a watch like this, it looks like any number of Seikos or Orients or other pieces which are not really going to elicit the attention of somebody who may seek to relieve you of your very expensive piece. It's timelessly elegant. You know, this watch hasn't really changed in the entirety of its existence since the mid-1950s. So I don't think there's any issue of it going out of fashion anytime soon. It is robust, all right? Even though it is a relatively small wristwatch, it is solid as hell. It feels like it's exactly what it is, a tough little field watch. It's a watch you can wear in any situation and have no qualms that it's going to be up to the job. And it's got a great bracelet. Of course, it's the classic Rolex Oyster bracelet. It's got a beautiful clasp. It's safe, it's secure, it is rugged, and it is tough. Again, very much part of that whole field watch identity that it has. And finally, classic size, all right? If you're somebody with a slightly smaller wrist, like myself, 6.5 inches, 7 inches, maybe as high as 7.5 to 8 inches, this watch can easily be proportionate for your wrist. If you've got a smaller wrist, if you've got a 6-inch wrist or a 5.5-inch wrist, this watch is going to look great on you. You know, if you're a female, if you're a male, this watch crosses many boundaries in its wearability, which is something which is refreshing in the modern era because we see more watches getting bigger and bigger. They keep evolving larger and larger. You know, the Patek Philippe Nautilus, the Rolex Submariner, as they've reinvented them, reissued them, they've got bigger. This is one of the few watches in recent times that's actually shrunk by 3mm in this version. So it's a nice, easy fit. But there are cons as well, right? Nothing's perfect. And just as I say that the size of this watch is ideal if you've got a smaller wrist, if you've got a larger wrist, 7.5 inches and above, it might not be for you. If you prefer your watch to be larger, have more presence, this watch isn't going to fit that bill. It is understated. It's not huge. That might be a negative for you. One thing I would say about it, the clasp, whilst rugged, tough and very capable, it's not really adjustable. And we're living in an era now where we're seeing more and more watches coming out with on-the-fly adjustment. The most recently, of course, I would say the Tudor range. They're introducing that T-fit clasp into their Ranger, the Black Bay Pro, the other one? The Pelagos 39. They're all coming out with the new T-fit clasp, which allows you an element of adjustability. Now, Rolex has that in the collection. They've got the glide lock bracelet on the Submariner and more of their highly capable diving watches like the Sea Dweller. That needs to be on all of their professional range watches because it's the very least you'd expect a watch which is easily adjustable. And I find that detracts sometimes from my enjoyment of the Explorer because the adjustability just isn't there, and that's a disappointment. The price. Now this is something which people often don't mention about Rolex watches because they're hard to get hold of and people tend to pay, happy to pay those inflated prices. But I bought this watch in November of 2021 and at the time I paid £5,150 for it. As I write this today, or record this today, this watch in less than a year has gone up to £6,000. £850 price increase over the course of 12 months. Now, I think that is ludicrous. This is a stainless steel, time-only watch with the very smallest amount of precious metals within it, the little bits of white gold of the hands and the hour markers. There is no explanation why this watch costs so much money and why there's been such an enormous price rise over the last year. I have to tell you, I don't believe I would have paid £6,000 for this watch, but that's my sense only. If you love the watch, you want it, it's up to you. But closer to £5,000, I felt comfortable. But £6,000, I think that is the straw which breaks the camel's back for me. Now you might say, it's a pointless exercise saying that because yes, you could buy the watch and it could be sold immediately that you buy it for a small amount of profit on the grey market at the moment. Watch market is in fluctuation. That may not always be the case. So never go out and buy a watch on the basis that it is possible to either recover your money or get more money in return. Buy a watch because you love it, you want to wear it, because you can't guarantee it's going to hold its money that well. And finally, of course, a con for this watch is its availability. I'm told that they're even harder to get hold of now than they were when I picked mine up in 2021. So if you are seeking the Explorer for your collection and today you decide you want one and you go to the authorised dealer, you then enter this circus of trying to curry favour with the authorised dealer. You may have to buy other watches, other items of jewellery, or you may have to wait years before you can get your hands on the watch, or you could pay £1,000 or £2,000 more than its retail price if you're prepared to buy it on the grey market. It's up to you how much you really want that watch. Okay, so to round up folks, in summary, what's it been like with this Explorer on my wrist for 12 months now? And I've got to tell you, it entered my collection under the shadow of the mighty Pepsi GMT Master 2. And you would think they're two difficult watches to sort of countenance with each other. But actually, over time, I've come to appreciate the qualities of the Explorer even more. Its wearability in daily life is, without question, the most versatile watch that I own. And it's the watch which I default to on a daily basis most of the time. It's now won a place in my heart, and I would never sell it because it is just so wearable and so pleasant to put on your wrist in the morning. I know that whatever I encounter in my day, at least I'm going to have the watch which is the right watch for that situation, and it's going to tell the time with a little bit of style and a little bit of charm. And that's all you can want for a wristwatch. Albeit a simple time-only stainless steel watch, the Explorer really just nails it for me. And I'm so glad that I hung on to it. When I wavered a little bit, I could easily have let it go, but actually it's going to be in the collection in perpetuity without a shadow of a doubt. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed this review of 1 year on the wrist of my Rolex Explorer. If you have, I'd be charmed if you would give the video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And if you'd like to practically support the channel and me in making more content like this, you can do that by simply buying me a coffee. And you'll find the link which explains how to buy me a coffee in the show notes below. So folks, go out into the world and wear your watch, whatever it is, with pride and passion. Make telling the time a high point of your day and not a chore, because with this little watch, it absolutely is a pleasure for me. So until the next time, take care, and I will see you again very soon.